You're listening to Hunting the Front Lines, part of the Praying and Slaying podcast network. This show is led by retired Army Sergeant Justin Wilson and dedicated to the men and women hunters who serve or have served in the U.S. military and chase game wherever they're stationed. From on-base hunts to wild ground just outside the wire, Hunting the Front Lines is your go-to resource for scouting new terrain, learning the ropes, and making the most of every opportunity at your next duty station. Now let's dive in.
All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Hunting the Front Lines podcast. Today's guest is retired Regimental Command Sergeant Major Michael Barrett. I met Michael through another friend of mine. He's hunted quite a few different military bases, so I'm going to have him on a few times so you guys will really get to know him pretty well. Today, we're going to go over his military career, which is pretty extensive. And we're going to cover hunting on Fort Leavenworth today. Leavenworth is near and dear to my heart. That's where I killed my biggest buck ever. And once he comes on, he'll tell his story. I think, if I remember correctly, we've talked a few times. If I remember correctly, he killed a pretty significant buck out there too. So we'll discuss that too. So sit back, get your popcorn, grab a drink, and enjoy. Oh man. So you've lived kind of the normal military lifestyle of just living everywhere.
Yeah.
So even before being in the military, you've moved around a little bit too. So it kind of got you prepared, I guess. You just didn't know it.
Yeah. So growing up, we had I lived in a fifth wheel trailer, and we went from job to job. We froze my goldfish 4 different times. He would keep coming back to life. It was the craziest thing. I think the 4th or 5th time he didn't resuscitate. But yeah, I lived in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, all before I started the 1st grade. We just went from job to job. I lived in trailer parks. We had a nomadic life, but that was what was needed at the time.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I get it. And that's the one thing. I grew up in a small town. There was only I think anywhere from 65 to 70 people in my graduating class, real small class.
Yep.
I never left here until I joined the Army. And then it's like, I was never in one place more than just a couple of years. I mean, Germany and Alaska were my 2 longest, and they were, 3.5, 4 years. But other than that, it was always a year or 2 here and there, and that's it. I'm gone. So, and now I'm kind of used to it, and it feels weird being in one spot for 4 or 5 years. Like, wow, wait a minute, I should be leaving soon. So tell me what made you want to join the Army, and then tell me a little bit about your career, because we were both MPs. Yeah. But now, no offense, but you were a cage kicker, is what we always called them.
Yeah, turnkeys. There's all kinds of names for us. There's a lot of things that influence joining the military. Small town. Hey, I got to get out of here. I want to go see things.
Yep.
That was a small portion of it. I wanted to join the military because I ultimately wanted to be a cop.
Yeah.
I wanted to get accepted into the Oregon State Police Academy, and you obviously couldn't carry a gun until you're 21. So I was like, I got to find something to do with my time, and college wasn't something. I didn't like school. So I was like, I can't go to college. That's just not going to work. And so I actually became a Boy Scout explorer with the local sheriff's department. And you're basically a Boy Scout, but you do law enforcement stuff. You don't go camping, you work in a jail, you ride in police cars, you go to first aid, you do all that stuff. You don't carry a gun. And they got to talking to me, and they were like, hey, you should go join the military. It's a great place to kind of like build a foundation and kind of figure out who you are and if this is something you want to do. And so again, like most, hey, recruiter, this is what I want to do. And they're like, well, that's nice, but we don't have that job. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have that job? And they're like, well, we don't have MPs, but we got this thing called military police corrections. And they had this huge laser disc thing. And they're like, here, watch this video. And so I watched this video, and it's got this guy walking a tier with a shotgun watching inmates. And I'm like, it's kind of the same thing, and you're young, you're naive. You're like, hey, that's cool. It says MP, I'll do it.
Yep.
Next thing you know, I'm on an airplane for the first time from Boise, Idaho. So being in a small town, we had to drive 3 hours to MEPS.
Yep.
Uh, then I landed at Fort McClellan and started a whirlwind of a career that kind of took me. I sent you my notes, right? I have been to
Yeah.
like 6 places. That's not as many as everybody else, and that's based on there's only 6 places for corrections guys to go.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and I did all the typical stuff that corrections guys do. I started in a small facility out of JBL in Washington. We housed guys
Yep.
that were 5 years and under.
Yep.
Um, then I went to Germany. I want to go see the world. So, hey, Sergeant Major, I gotta go. He's like, all right, Bennett, go. And so um kind of lost my way in Germany. The drinking scene there was different in the late 90s. And
Yep.
so my priorities were not really focused in achieving goals in the military. Um, came back to Fort Leonard to be an instructor and
Ooh.
had one of the most phenomenal people in my life. Um, I made a comment about some aspirations I had, and he's like, "Come here, young sergeant, let's go have a talk." And he slammed the door closed, and um, yeah, he gave me the business, and I needed that business.
Yeah.
And he kind of set me on the right path, and that path led to drill sergeant school, and then you know that's the gift that keeps on giving. After that, it was just one continued positive assignment after another,
Yep.
until when I left the Army as the MP Regimental Sergeant Major in 22. So yeah, just crazy. I mean,
You honestly, you kind of have you have the normal soldier story because I think I don't want to throw out numbers, but it seems like more than not, all soldiers go through the same thing you did, kind of losing their path a little bit, and it takes that one supervisor that just has their head on straight to get you back into where you need to be. I think a lot of, especially young soldiers, go through that because I know I did too. I did the same thing, and mine was in Germany. I was in Stuttgart, Germany at the time because
yeah,
me and you were in Germany at the same time. I was over there from '98 to 2000, well, into 2000, and then I went back in 2004 to 2008, and I was in
yeah,
K Town the second time.
yeah. 1998 to 2001.
Yep,
Um, Phenomenal time. Um, yeah, it was wild and crazy, but I met a group of guys that I still talk to almost daily
yep.
now, post Army. And we reflect on those times. We lost one this year to cancer.
Oh, that
We all got to
sucks.
go back up and meet. And like most times when you get a bunch of guys and gals together from that served,
Yeah,
remember that time? So there was hours of that. And then there was the people that, didn't know. He had young brothers that were half his age, and they were like, they had no idea that, their older brother had done and been a part of some things. And
yep.
yeah, it was just great to reflect. But yeah, it was great times.
It's that brotherhood and sisterhood. You don't get that anywhere else. I mean, it's hard to have that because you know the person to your six has got they got your back at all times, and you have the same for them and everyone else. And that's the one thing that it's hard to transition from that to retired life. And that's the one thing that really got me. I'll be honest. When I retired in 2016, I started looking at jobs in 2015. I couldn't even get hired at Walmart. They wouldn't hire me. They're like, "Oh, you're too overqualified for this." Like, listen, I don't want a bunch of responsibility. I had that my whole career. I want to kind of come out and just kind of get my feet wet in this whole civilian thing first. But it's like all my job offers come from the DEA, ATF, FBI, all those guys because of my qualifications.
Yep.
I didn't want to do all that right then. So it's like, you know, that's the one thing I miss. And I still miss that to this day is that brotherhood. I still keep in contact, like you said, with people I've served with my whole career, but it's just not the same, you know, through Facebook or through the phone. It's still different. Where you used to be
Oh
around
yeah.
those people all the time, it's different now.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's absolutely different. I'm a DA civilian now.
yep,
Um, but and it's still different. It's good to still be around the soldiers. We're 50-50 in our construct. So 50% soldiers, officers enlisted, senior NCOs and field grade officers, and then DA civilians. Um, and they're still, it's good to be around them, but there's still some days where it's like, half of you are not, don't have your head down rowing for the team. And it's like, it gets
Yep.
a little frustrating at times. So I come back and I get online with my guys from Germany and be like, man, you're not going to believe this. And they humble me. They're like, why are you even worried about it, man? You got to come home, you got a paycheck, let it go. You did your part. So
It's for you especially. I didn't achieve the rank that you did. I didn't have as much responsibility as you did. But I know for me, I only live an hour and 20 minutes from Fort Knox. I go down there and hunt all the time. I'm deer hunting, turkey hunting, all that stuff down there. But seeing the way that standards have changed, it blows my mind. There is no 670-1 anymore. That's gone.
yeah,
I mean, I've seen people come out of the shopette down there with their hair down to their butt.
yeah. It is frustrating watching the Army go through the changes. A lot of it's needed. Some of it does make you scratch your head and go, "Wow, I don't understand that." Um, and they're the Army's always been changing, right? One of the things
Yep.
I tell folks is, George Washington's team, they didn't have shoes.
Mm-mm.
I'm glad we changed, we got shoes on. So just, embrace the positive and the change and, try to make it fit. My wife is a former soldier, and, we talk about the hair standards off and on over dinner because that's what retirees do.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and I'm glad that the females can kind of like let their hair down a little bit. Hair headaches were a thing. Uh,
Yep.
uh, the ladies losing their hair. Um, so and so that's a good one, right? And the beard ones get me. I got a beard. That's the first thing I
Yeah.
did. And I've only been clean shaven, I think 2 weeks in 3 years. Um, so it bothers me a little bit. And my my issue with it is that the male soldier can go online and submit a request through an online portal and then identify inside a religious organization. And then they
Uh,
print that off and they can take it and submit it through the processes to get a religious exemption.
wow.
And it's, again, this is my opinion, pretty easy to do. Anybody can do it. You just
Mm.
got to show like you're a 1% um, genre of folks. And then, you got a shaving profile for
Yep.
religious accommodations. And it's like, there's religious groups out there that's been persecuted for hundreds of thousands of years. And you just did an online thing and now you can wear a beard. And so
Yeah.
maybe mine's a little bit more philosophical than most. Because I really don't care as long as it's,
Yeah.
but I think it's a slap in the face to every other religion that's been prosecuted over, you know, time.
Oh
So it
yeah.
bothers me a little bit. But then I go home and drink my beer, drink my bourbon, and I'm okay.
So tell me your life after the military. Once you retired, how was the transition over? And then just tell me how you went about finding the job that you're in. Did you have to work your way up to that, or did you step into that? How'd that go? Because that's the one thing that I have a lot of friends of mine. I've still got guys that are, I was in like year 15, 16, and they're in year 2 or 3. And now they're getting up there to where they're thinking about either getting out or staying to retire, and they're worried about finding employment afterwards. How tough was that for you? What was the big? If you had any hurdles, what was the big one? And then if not, if it was a smooth transition,
Um,
then talk about it.
yeah, no, that's a phenomenal question. And in fact, I spend a lot of my time talking to
Hmm.
people who are getting ready to transition out, and I tell them what I'm going to tell you is you got to start about 2 years out, looking. You got to look at Indeed, you got to look at USA Jobs, you got to look at all those portals that puts jobs out You got to decide, is that the location I want to live? How far is your retirement pay going to take you? What does the state offer in retiree benefits to
Yep.
make your money go the furthest? If that was my criteria, some people don't really care and they go back to Oregon and lose 30% of their paycheck. Um,
Ugh.
they're the
Oof.
worst state in the nation by the numbers. And
Wow.
so okay, let me back up, right? So what we did is, hey, where do we want to live? Um, where do we want our kids to go to school? And then the job would just fall into place. We'd figure that out.
Okay.
Because I had kids in high school and their launching point to me was the most important thing in
Yeah.
deciding to retire. I could have probably got another job in the Army, but it would have required me to move, and I didn't want to do that. I had
Yeah.
a son that was a freshman in high school, so we or made the decision to transition. So you figure out those things, and
Mm-hmm.
then started doing the look, and it's difficult because in a small town like this, yeah, we're next to a big base, but St. Roberts has 4,000, Waynesville has 4,000, give or plus or minus.
Yep.
If you're not getting a job on post, you're not really getting a job it's gonna pay the bills, but it you're gonna be working. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some great companies here and great businesses, but that's just the revenue of the location. And so I did an internship because I have a master's degree in human resources with the city of St. Roberts, because I was going to just transition into being a St. Roberts police officer. I met
Okay.
with the chief of police and was going to go through all the processes, and phenomenal group of men and women, great organization. And a couple guys got killed, a couple towns up over a weekend while I was doing my
Oof.
CSP with them. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know that I want to go get shot in the face by all these drug addicts. And
Yep.
so, I just had because being a cop was the lifelong dream. And so I just had to have a little gut check. And so I went back to Indeed and started applying at anything that said, we need a job. I applied at Lowe's and
Yep.
got denied. And my full 10-page resume denied. And I was like, you didn't need me? I just want to take out the trash. And I called them and they're like, sir, you're way overqualified. And I was like, all right, whatever. I appreciate your time. Um, but there were two contract jobs where you were an advisor on post. And a guy called me and said, hey, are you really who you say you are? And I was like, well, I mean, that's what the resume is. He goes, can you meet me in like an hour? And I was like, yeah, I'll be right there. So I went in and it was at the digital training facility, if you remember that
Yep.
time. The guys that did the simulations with all the students.
Yep.
And he's like, you are who you are. And I was like, I mean, yeah. He's like, man, I'll hire you right on the spot, and this is the number. And I'm like, cool, I'll do it. He goes, you start on Monday, go do all this stuff online. And it was like a great job because it paid what I needed to cover my retirement difference, and put me around soldiers. I love teaching. I love talking to folks
Yep.
um, when they're learning from my mistakes. And so I went and came home and was really excited. And I called my guys and was like, guys, check this out. And so we're having a conversation and my phone rings and it's somebody else that I had worked for in the Army, 15 years ago. And he's like, hey, we just found your resume on Indeed. Are you still interested in this job? And I'm like, well, yeah. He's like, but this portal's really stupid. It was really hard to navigate. He goes, look, we want to hire you. The HR person's going to call you in an hour and just hold on. And I was like, okay. So HR person calls me back and they're like, hey, I don't know who you are, but they want you. So now I have two different contracts
Yep.
competing for my time. And um, the people that called me second, we went through their process a little bit faster because I told them, I was like, hey, I'm already hired. So unless you got something that's exclusive, then I don't want to waste your time. He goes, well, we'll call you back in an hour. And this was in like a matter of 2 days. So I still hadn't even
Wow.
onboarded with the first guys that hired me on the spot. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm talking to their hiring official And he goes, so we need to talk about numbers. And so I gave him a number and he goes, oh, that's just not going to work. And I was like, well, hey, I appreciate it. I wasn't worried. I wasn't
Yeah.
stressed. I already had a gig. And he goes, that number's way too low. And I gave him a ridiculous number. And in my opinion, it was a ridiculous number. He goes, that number's not going to work. And he threw a number out there that was significantly higher. And his name was Bob. And I still talk to him. He good dude. And I go, hey, Bob, it looks like I start with you tomorrow. So that's, and I'd call the other, I didn't call the other guy. I actually drove back in um, to post to the DTF and talk to the guys and was like, hey, look, this is the deal. And they weren't heartburn about it. They got it right. It's the
Oh,
business
yeah.
of contracts. And so I did contracting for 2 years. So I retired active duty in 22 and did the contracting for 2 years with Science Applications International out of Huntsville, Alabama. And
Okay.
they do a lot of stuff for the Department of Defense. And my role was just to advise on MP modernization.
Okay.
So I got to learn the capability development process for the Army on how they take an idea to a piece of equipment in a soldier's hands. And it's a pretty um, it's a tough business to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Acronyms are stupid, and it's always changing. There's a lot of rules, a lot of oversight, and with today's in political environment, it's extremely fast paced. So,
Oh, yeah.
but I did that for 2 years, and then the team that I worked for, the DA civilians, the senior leaderships approached me and said, "Hey, one of our positions is opening up. That's basically the chief of staff of the whole group of 100 folks.
Nice.
Really want you to put your name in the hat." And so I went through the process and ended up being selected over, about three or four other gentlemen that applied. But man, it's a process. You got to practice. Being in the last position I was in, I got the opportunity to just at random get up in front of people and talk. And
Yep.
it is different. If you can imagine for an enlisted guy or gal, their first promotion board or their first Soldier of the Month board, and you're sitting
Yep.
at the table and there's four people and they're so structured. There's a moderator. My name is James, and I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you'll have 4 minutes to answer each question. And I mean, they just do this little preamble.
Wow.
They're like, do you have any questions? No. And then the first one goes, and they're like, explain, this in detail. And then they shut up. And then you talk until you feel like you're done.
Wow.
And then the next one goes. It's like talking to the doctor that did your VA claim, right? You don't know if you're giving them the
Oh.
right answer, and they're doing a lot of writing, and um, so yeah, I did go through that process a couple times and was not selected, um, and it was humbling. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I did have some anxiety during one of them, and it was my good friends that got me through it, guys and gals that I'd served with. Um, I was like, how could you not want me? I have so much to offer. I'm a hard worker. But somebody else just got a better score, and that's just kind of how it is. So,
Yeah.
but I was really hard on myself. I always have been. And so the more time and preparation you put into prepping for that process, the easier it is. I put a lot of work in. I had a battle rhythm event that um so on the 90, I took 90 days leave before my retirement date.
Yep.
Every morning that I woke up, I would turn on my computer, I would scroll through Indeed, I would find a job and apply. I would go to USA Jobs and do a thing. And then Tuesday through Friday, I was studying for the police exam.
Yep.
Um, so that when that time came, I could go take that test. Um, so I had a plan. I had there was a training schedule of things I had to do every day. And if you don't do that, you're going to struggle a little bit. And that's the one thing soldiers don't do well is they get in a struggle and then they just kind of spiral. And um,
Yep.
so rehearse, 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 and do all the
Yep.
planning you can.
See, I wish I wish somebody would have gave me that advice that you said at the beginning, start 2 years out. When I got to Fort Knox was my last duty station. I retired from there. When I got there, I was unsure if I wanted to retire, if I wanted to stay in. I had a pretty good idea I'd make Sergeant First Class on my next look, but I wasn't counting on it because it was getting competitive. The
Mm.
Army was starting to kind of transition to where it wasn't about your soldiers anymore; it was about you. You have to take care of yourself. I didn't like that part of it, but I thought now, once I become a senior NCO, I can still kind of run things the way that I want to because I'm where I am now. And these are my soldiers. I take care of them first. It's the way it is. But I just kept. I wasn't working as an MP anymore. I was working in logistics. And when I say I was in a top heavy unit, as a staff sergeant with 18 and a half, 19 years in, I was a private. My first line supervisor was a major.
Yeah.
So, and I had the good thing about that though is I had a lot of warrant officers around me that knew what they were doing. I had a lot. I had 5 or 6 sergeant majors that had been in for years beyond me, and I soaked up all their knowledge. But the focus then, when I retired, was more about the VA. That was the big one. We actually had a warrant officer in our unit that had wrote a book about the VA. So that was the thing. That was kind of like part of your clearing was you had to go see him, and he would sit in the office and talk to you and tell you, do's and don'ts with the VA. So that was like the big thing. I mean, I started looking a year out, but I wish somebody would have said something because I'd have started looking 2 years out. And I have soldiers now ask me, hey, how should I do this? And I'm gonna start telling them that, start 2 years out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you don't have to have, the 75% solution 2 years out.
Yeah,
You gotta kinda have an idea of what things you need in your life that's gonna make you happy. What kind of financial income do you wanna have? Do you at the t at the date you separate, what do your bills look like, right? So,
yeah,
when we started 2 years out, man, we doubled down on all our bills so that when I retired, I had 1 bill, my house payment. So
yep,
and I
yep,
set the conditions. It was better back then than it is now, but, um, my house payment was gonna be no more than 50% of what I made from my retirement check.
yeah,
So, we looked for a house that met that need and we lucked out. So, there's just all those little nuances. That's a good one too that I forgot. Um, and I have SAR major buddies who get this wrong all the time, and it just breaks my heart for them. Is if you're gonna use the VA loan at the time you retire, you have to have it pre-approved before you get an approved retirement, or you have
yep,
to wait 6 months from your retirement date. And I've had a couple buddies that got in a pinch. They were sergeant majors and they had money saved up and they were able to do a thing, right? But it wasn't as easy as they thought it was gonna be. They had some challenges where they
yep,
had to adjust some stuff. So, I tell people that too all the time is, that's a great tool to have, but if you got a separation order, retirement, or you're ETSing, and you're eligible for the benefits, if you've got that order, you can't use it till 6 months after you separate because you got to establish an income
yep.
to evaluate.
See, it's so I know I've had like I call them the old guys because they were in way before me. That like my first time in Germany, and then so I was stationed at Knox twice, and I had one of those. I'll just call him an OG. He was at Knox there. Those guys would talk about when people would retire. Clearing and all the retirement stuff was different back then than what it was when I retired. And it's one of the things like when I retired, they had people come in and talk to you, and that you'd go through these classes and all that. But like you said, that's right there. They should have somebody from the VA come in and talk about that, and let these guys know. And I saw that when I retired. Then there's certain things that they never covered. And it's like I had no idea about the VA stuff myself because we were looking at staying around here,
Yeah.
and we stayed on Fort Knox. We stayed there in our quarters because it was all privatized housing. Like, yeah, you guys can stay if you want, and they readjusted what my rent was going to be. And then I got the job at the VRC, so it's like perfect. I lived a mile from work. It was great. But if I wanted to buy a house, I would have had to stay there at least 6 months
Yep.
to get that available. And it's like they don't tell you that.
Yeah, there's a lot
So
of, you know, nuggets out there that they just don't share, and it's I don't know. So the transition class right now, that's a contracted class. Yeah,
mhm.
they set the conditions for what they're going to teach, but I know that my last year on active duty, we would the SAR majors, it was an additional duty for us. We'd go over there and do an out brief, at the end of the week and talk to the students. And, it's a push-pull information. I'd push out the stuff that I knew and shared because I
Yep.
was going through it. Some people do it well, some don't. And I don't know if my guys liked it or not, but when I made the decision to retire, I had every 90 days, I sat down with all the SAR majors on Fort Leonard that were MPs. And I said, hey, let's have lunch. And then I'll be like, hey, this is what I'm going through. And I don't care if you're listening or taking notes, but I want you guys to prepare because you're not out now, but you all will get out in the next 5 years.
Yep.
So, I want to take care of you and your families. And I would share with them all those things that I'd learned. And, that would be one of those things that we would share as often as we could.
Well, see, and I'm glad we're having this conversation because this is, I love to hunt. That's my passion. And I wanted to do this for hunting, but I told my partner, I said, listen, I also want to be able to put information out for active duty guys, for vets, all that stuff. And once I've been doing it a little longer, I want to get into, at the end of the podcast, I'll maybe share a link for a resource for, vets to use or for active duty, whatever. So I'm glad you're putting this information out. And I want to make sure I highlight that when we drop this episode, because there's a lot of stuff that isn't covered for soldiers getting out. And the Army has gotten better. I will say that from the time friends of mine retired, 10 years before me, and then I retired, it had gotten a lot better. I'm sure it's gotten better since I retired too. And it's always going to be evolving. It's going to change because society changes, the world changes. But I wish there was a way, and we'll talk about this when we get to the hunting aspect of this. But I wish the Army could go across the board where everything's the same on every base, but it's not. And I don't know the behind the scenes of that, how hard that would be to make that happen.
So they try, they really, really do at the senior strategic level.
Yeah.
But it's all based on throughput, right? And the unfortunate process is everything's number based and it's based on
Yeah.
throughput. And, you're going to get a different transition plan from Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, where it's you and like 5 other dudes in a sweaty box talking about getting out of the Army and the Navy. And then what you might see at JBLM, Hood, the bigger installations. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, hopefully, they've gotten better. Hopefully they can continue to improve that. Hopefully it doesn't get cut.
Hope not. I think it'll get better because, like I said, it constantly evolves, and I think it's excuse me, with everything else in the military and just in life in general, it's trial and error is what it is.
Yep.
That's what it is, and I think the guys that came in when I did, because I came in 2 years after you. I joined in '96. Well, I joined in '95 and went to basic in '96, after my senior year. And guys that came in with me that are retiring or retired when I did, I feel like it was pretty successful. There was little small things that we didn't know about, but I feel like you're not gonna be able to hit all of it. But as it progresses, you start hitting more stuff each time. So it's just trial and error. And I believe now, I'm sure it's probably gotten a lot better than it was when I did. That's
Oh
been
yeah.
that's been 9 years ago.
My wife was medically retired in 2004.
Hmm.
And when I talked to her about the process that I went through, she's like, "Well, I didn't get that. Well, I didn't get
Yep.
that. Well, I didn't get that." And I'm like, I'm sorry, but a lot's changed since she got out. We were only 2 years into Afghanistan, a year into Iraq. So, the process has evolved quite a bit, and it's a lot better than what it was. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I talked to guys that I had known, early on in my career, and they were retiring, and I would talk to them when I was going through the process, just kind of getting advice from them, and they're like, "Man, we didn't have all those resources then." It's a couple of those guys that retired, like you said with your wife, like 2003, 2004. They didn't have all that stuff, and I was like, "Man, we've got it now." And now looking at it, it's like, man, you brought up some good points. Like, hopefully, the generations that are going to retire here in the next few years, maybe they'll get that information. It'll get passed down, and they'll
Yeah.
get more. They'll have more resources than we did.
Yeah, no, and it helps everybody too, right? Not just the people that are getting out, but so when a service member gets out of their branch
Yep.
and they can't get a job and they go on any type of assistance, um, unemployment, right?
Yep.
The service that they left has to pay the government that bill.
Really?
And it comes out of their budget.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Overall budget. There's a pot of money. So if the Army has, transitions 30,000 people and none of them get jobs, they're paying that unemployment bill back to the federal government.
Wow. See, I didn't know that.
So
Huh.
they benefit by making sure that there's a good transition plan and education program
Yep.
for the transitioning service members. So they can put that money on other things. And
Yep.
everybody needs money right now. So
So when were you at Leavenworth?
okay, so I was at Leavenworth from 2009 to 2015. And during that time, I had one trip to Iraq, 13 months.
Yep.
And then upon that, I came back and had been selected for the SAR Majors Academy. So I went to Fort Bliss for that 9-month school and ended up
Mhm.
coming right back to the opposite battalion on the installation to be the sergeant major. So, and yeah, so what, 5 years plus or minus?
See, we were there at the same time at Leavenworth too, because I got there in 2000, 2007 or 2008, and I was there until I think the end of 2010.
Okay. Yeah.
So, because I used to come out to the facility out there where you guys were at all the time, and actually, when they built the new facility down there, our kennels used to be down there
Yep.
because I was a canine handler there. So they kicked us out, put us up on the hill. And you guys built that whole new facility out there.
Yep. So yeah, I lived in a little one-bedroom apartment in Platte City, 2009 for like 4 months for the deployment
Yep.
mobilization. Then I went to Iraq and then came back in like what 2011, 10. It
Yep.
all blurs together, but yeah, yeah, it was a next to Fort Knox. If you get my family in a room, be like, all right, everybody vote on where you okay, Cuba's number one because it's the Caribbean.
Well, yeah, that's
Uh,
true.
They got to live there for 2 years. Um, And then Fort Knox and Fort Leavenworth, Kansas would be in a fist fight on the number 2 slot. So
Wow.
yeah, it's just a phenomenal small hometown base nested right there on the northern side of Kansas City. So much
Yep.
to do. You can drive north and be in a cornfield, or you can drive south and you'll be in Kansas City doing city
Yep.
stuff. So yeah, we really liked it. And you wouldn't believe the hunting.
Oh
Oh my
yeah.
or the
Oh
size
yeah.
of deer that are on that, what is it, 4 by 6 mile base? That's all the bigger it is.
That's
Uh,
where I killed my biggest buck at Leavenworth up there by the water tower.
yeah, I lived there,
Oh,
right there
did
by the
you?
water tower. So that, um, what is it, Iowa Avenue?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That brand new row of housing that cuts off right there at the water tower. I was the
Goes off
fourth
to the
house
left.
down. Yep.
Yep. Yep. I shot my biggest buck up there 2007. Yeah, it was 2007. Yeah, it was I think October 2007. I shot him because I was deployed the same time you were to Iraq. I went down in 2009. So
Wow.
I was based out of Baghdad, but since I was a dog handler, I was all over the country.
Yep.
I was down there for 9 months and I got medevac back because of my son. My son had some medical issues happen back here, so I got medevaced out. So I came back and I was at Leavenworth. So I guess I left Leavenworth in 2011 is when it was. Yeah, because me and
Okay.
my wife went to Leonardwood after that. So tell me about your experience. Well, first of all, tell me the process you had to go through because that's the one thing I really want to get out there. So every base is different to hunt on. Every base has its own rules and regulations, things you have to do. So I want you to tell everybody what kind of process you have to go through to hunt on Leavenworth.
Okay. So I'm sure they've changed it a little bit because in the last 5 years, the iSportsman has really taken hold on all the installations, and
Yep.
I'm sure they've adapted it in some way, shape, or form. Um, so you obviously got to log in and do everything that it says there. You got to register your weapons.
Yep.
Uh, what's surprising about that small base is you can shoot high calibered centerfire rifles in one of the zones,
Yep.
which isn't common in most Army bases, at least my experience.
Yep.
And so you got to just do whatever the steps are in iSportsman. Um, at the time that I was hunting there, you had to go through a safety class given by the gentleman up at Hunt Lodge, right? So the old timers
Yep.
thinking about the young guys still in their hunting areas or their trees or this, that, and the other. But
Yeah.
And then after you did the safety brief, they would draw for, and I don't know if they still do this or not, so this could be dated, but you drew for your hunting spot, right? And
Yep.
so they would draw and you get a little tag, a little button, you put your number on it, and you'd have to walk up to the map and put it on the map. Well, that little dot gave you a, what is it, an 80-yard, 100-yard buffer around your dot. Uh,
Yep.
and then you were given a card, a big orange card that you put your name and your number and your point of contact information, and you could run out to the woods right then and there and tape it up. And
Yep.
so that was your tree. Um,
Yep.
so to go hunt, instead of logging into iSportsman, you drive down to the DPTMS, or the central hub of the installation, and they have map board. You unlock the board, you take your other card they gave you, and you put the pin in the board, and that told everybody you were hunting. You go hunt, and then afterwards you come retrieve your card. If you harvested anything, you filled out a harvest tag, dropped it in the box.
Yep.
Not a bad system. It worked.
Mhm.
You could see that if there was cards, a bunch of cards in one area, you'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go somewhere else and hunt a different spot." But yeah, it worked. A small base, and I don't think I hardly ever saw people in the woods when I went to the woods.
Mm.
And I shot all deer all the time. So
Yep.
my biggest one was from there, out in D on the airfield.
Yep. Out by the river.
Yeah, so I had a hard time starting. I got a buddy. I hope he's still a buddy. His name's Levi Ferris. He's retired out in Carson. Um, but I'd struggled one season. I think it was 2011. I was like, man, I really need some help. I just can't get on these deer. And he's like, come out with me. I got deer all around me. And so he, right at the truck before we walked in the woods, he goes, "Say, so see this deer? This is my deer. He's got a drop tine on this side." But I was like, "Cool, man. I'm not here for horns, man. I'm here for brownest down." I got the hat, brown.
Yep. I like
Okay.
that.
So we go out in the woods, and about 30 minutes after sunlight, this doe comes across, and I get her, and I hadn't sighted that rifle in a while. Shame on me. So I got down to check, make sure I got a good hit on her. I did. So I got right back in the tree. And not even 20 minutes later, this big boy comes out. And I was like, looking, he's broadside at like 50 yards. And I was like, there's no drop time on that deer. And I dropped him. And he was huge. That my buddy comes out and he's looking at that deer. He goes back and looks at his phone. He looks back at that deer and he goes, "Man, that's my deer." I was like, "That's not a drop time. It's a sticker. Know the difference." So yeah, I gave him half the deer, but yeah, no, he's the biggest one I got.
Oh yeah.
That's
Nice.
him right there. So
That's nice.
I never put tape on him officially. I did it
Mhm.
myself, drinking some whiskey one night, and I think I got him at 141, plus or minus. After he'd been on the wall for a year when I watched a YouTube video, right? So yeah, no, it's good. The challenges there are the CGSC students. So the old timers, they are no issue. They're great people. They're so
Oh
much
yeah.
fun to chat with at Hunt Lodge and listen to stories how that post has changed over time.
Yep.
One of the fellas, he came in one day early September. Kansas does a muzzleloader hunt the last weekend of September, and it's Iraq hot.
Yeah.
So, well, that old timer went out there, left his rifle in his stand because he got overheated and he just wanted to get back to the truck. I was like, I can't believe you left your rifle out there. So, it's stories like that, so much fun. Um, Another challenge with that Kansas as a whole is you get one buck tag.
Yes.
Whether it's muzzleloader, rifle, bow, you get one.
Yep.
Um, and I hunt generally for meat. It didn't really cramp my style, but it did shorten my season on a couple occasions.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a hidden gem. Hidden gem. I think a major who's going to school there every year kills a deer that's 140 plus
Yep.
every year.
Oh yeah.
So if you
Oh
put in
yeah.
the time, you put in the effort, It's all the same stuff. Be in the woods, find the path, find the food, find the travel routes. You could use cameras back then. I think they've since changed that. I don't know if they consider Leavenworth public ground. I assume they would. But I had cameras out just to kind of see what was there. So we could put bait down.
Yep.
And I used corn occasionally, but the feeders going off, other hunters could hear that. So I personally didn't take to it as well. What I found really great there was Wild Game Innovations Acorn Rage, the liquid buckets. I've got a grid square marked out there. I bet you if I went out there today, well, no, they've flooded a couple times since then, but I think when I left there in 2014, I had a spot that was had a 10-foot hole uh,
Yep.
where they had just dug up. And it's what I do. I'd take my little rake and my chainsaw and I'd cut my path to my tree, kind of clear out some lanes, and then I would just 1 2-gallon bucket in first week of August. I just rake up the dirt, mix it in. And I mean, if they came in, they came in. If not, that's all the effort I put into it.
Yeah.
So from the same tree, a year later, I got hemp.
Nice.
So if you put them side by side, on the right side, they're almost symmetrical. So there's a thought that that bloodline is from the deer that I showed you first.
It looks like it.
Yeah. But no, that was Leavenworth. It was great. Had an experience there with my son because he wanted to go out. So he hunted there 2 years in a row, when he was 5 and 6. And we never got to see a deer because youth season is in September and it's stupid hot. So
Yep.
much leaves and stuff, you can't see nothing. But in late October, I spined a buck because I made a rush shot and he
Yep.
died right away. And I was like, man, this is a perfect opportunity to teach the young man to take his time shooting. So I went home and got him and brought him back and had him walking down this trail. And he's like, Dad, what are we looking for? I was like, well, there's a deer down here and we're going to, we got the knives. We're going to go to work on him. And about that time, the buck picked his head up.
Oh,
He's like, oh my gosh, Dad, he's still alive. I was like, yes, son, I made a horrible shot. And now I have to live with the consequences. And I taught him how to dispatch the deer at that point. And to this day, he talks about how he knows he's got to make a good shot, take his time, be patient. And if the shot's not there, don't take the shot. And he's 19 and in college now. He still talks about that event.
This episode is powered by Dead Nuts Outdoors, makers of the most lifelike, lightweight, and weatherproof 2D archery targets in the world. That's right, I said 2D. We're talking full-size animals that bring the hunt to your backyard. Whether you're dialing in before the season or just burning daylight with your bow, Dead Nuts Targets makes practicing fun, training on full-size animals to ensure every rep in the backyard converts to success on your trips to the field. Built to last, easy to haul, compatible with any backstop, and 100% made in the USA, Dead Nuts Outdoors is a proud supporter of our veterans, investing in conservation and rooted in building a better, more confident community of hunters every step of the way. They are proud supporters of the Prayin' and Slayin' Podcast Network, and you can get 10% off your Dead Nuts targets by using the code Prayin' and Slayin' at checkout. That's Prayin' and Slayin' at your checkout or visiting the link in the show notes. Dead Nuts is helping us all hit the spot, not the dot. Hit it, Dead Nuts. Now, let's get back to the episode.
So
it was a good learning experience then.
yeah, phenomenal.
So Leavenworth is still just about the same as you said. You still have to do the safety briefs. You still have to do the tree stand draw. I don't know if they have the map that you still go put your card on, because me and a buddy were actually supposed to go to Leavenworth and hunt this year. We're going to put in for the draw to try to get drawn since we're non-residents, but I had my 4th neck surgery. So I told him, I said, I'm not going this year. We'll put in for it next year. But I've already talked to their hunt control guys, talked to all of them. And it's different. It's a different guy now than what it was when we were out there. And he's like, yeah, we still do all the same. I was rattling stuff. I was like, yeah, it's still the same. You can still bait on post. You can do everything. I told him, he's like, well, where do you think you're going to hunt? I said, I'm going to hunt by the water tower. I know where I'm going. I shot 2 big bucks up there. I got my biggest I killed ever, and I killed it there, was a 146. I killed another one's probably 125, 130. He's just real tall. I shot them both out of the same tree. And the 146 I killed, I actually had been gone. I had a camera set up there, and I put a bunch of corn out too with some minerals in it, probably 15, 20 yards across so where the water tower is, there's an old like horse trail that comes down and goes down over the hill. There's another horse trail that comes this way from like the fence line. They right where they crisscross. I had a stand right there in this tree. I could walk you right to the tree right now. I could do it in the dark. I set my stand right across from those two trails and sit there, and I had all this corn out and some minerals in it and stuff. I was getting pictures of some small bucks, nothing spectacular. Well, I had to go to Lackland Air Force Base for soups course, so I was gone for 3 weeks. I get back, and there's like 5 trees around my tree that are just demolished. I'm talking like trees this big are rubbed down to this. I was like, man, there's something big coming through here. Wow. So I pull my SD card, and there's this monster 8-point. Yeah, baby, I'm coming for you. So I didn't have a muzzleloader yet, so I was using I had a 20 gauge single shot shotgun.
Oh, kick like a mule.
Oh yeah, I love that thing. No, I grew up shooting that thing. Squirrels, rabbits, deer, everything. That was my gun. It's a Saturday morning. I go out and sit in the stand, and I hadn't been out in the woods in 3 weeks, so I kind of forgot kind of where I was at, because right from the water tower, you just go up the road a little bit, there's a skeet range. So it's daylight, and all of a sudden I hear boom, boom, boom. So I stand up with my gun. I was like, oh man, people are shooting. Deer are gonna be running this way possibly. Well, then after a few more, I was like, oh, you dummy, that's a skeet range. So I sit down, I'm sitting there, and I hear this crash, and I look up, and this buck comes busting through the brush, and it's kind of cool out. It's November, steam coming off his nose. I was like, oh man, wow, that's a big buck. So he walks over here, and he's 20 yards from me. I cock the hammer back. I just got a little single bead on the end of my barrel. I shoot. Nothing. He just stands there. So I'm thinking I missed. So when you hit the button, I have to break it down. It shoots the round out. It makes a big old loud noise. Well, he runs up on the side of the hill a little bit. I thought, oh no, you don't. So I reach my pack, throw another one in. I stand up, and as soon as I stand up, he sees me. He's looking at me. I shot again and just dropped him. I get up there. You take your 2 fingers and do this, and that's how close the 2 bullets were that I hit him. But he didn't act like he was hit the first time, so I thought I missed.
Yeah.
Man, I got down there and looked at that. I was like, wow. I'd never shot a buck like that. I'd shot, bucks like what you see on the wall here is, little things. I shot that, and that changed my whole outlook on hunting. I was like, okay, this is it. If I kill a buck, it's gonna be like this. I'm not shooting anything else but one of these. Oh, it was one of the best, probably the best hunting experience I think I've ever had, just the way it went down. And then the next season, yeah, it was 2008. I killed the other buck. He was probably 125 somewhere. I never had him scored. I just liked him because he had 2 big crab claws on the end, and his G2s were 13 inches. He was just real small.
Yeah. And
I shot him out of the same tree, and there was a guy up on the ridge on top of the hill hunting up there with a bow. I heard him shoot. I heard his bow go off, and then I saw 2 doe take off down over the hill. It's probably 30 minutes later. I see the guy come walking down. He's got his orange on. It's gun season and bow season. It's both. He comes walking down. There's an old logging road over here. He's walking down that road, and he's just kind of looking. But to me, he wasn't really looking for blood. He was looking more out here, trying to see the deer itself. So he walks down. Well, I lose him down over here by the fence line. I couldn't see him no more. He comes walking up, and he's standing over here probably 60 yards from me, and he yells out, "Hey, did you see those deer take off?" I was like, "Yeah, 2 doe just ran down that way." Did you see where they went? I said, down over the hill. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to him. He sits down right there where he's standing. He sits down. And about that time I hear this chink, chink, chink. I look up, and all I see is antlers coming through the brush running. And it runs right past him, probably 15 feet from the guy. Runs right by him. He jumps up with his bow. Well, by the time he gets up with his bow, the deer's already heading towards me. So he sits back down. It runs behind. It's coming on this trail behind my tree. And I'm sitting there watching him. I thought, oh, I know exactly where he's coming. I have my muzzleloader then. Well, if I could show you the picture, it'd probably take me a little bit on my phone to find it, but I shot this deer at 6 yards with my muzzleloader with 150 grains of powder. The hole was that big going in.
Oh, yeah.
It blew the whole shoulder out.
Oh, yeah.
The deer drops, and the guy's like, oh, man, you got him. I was like, yeah. I said, thanks for that. He goes, what do you mean? I said, you jumped him up. I appreciate the assist.
Yeah.
So,
oh man,
but that was it for me. I mean, I saw a lot of deer out there. I mean, every time I went, you'd see deer. There was no shortage of deer on that base at all.
Yeah.
at all.
all them cornfields around there. It's a great place. I really enjoyed it. Um, I in those buildings that you were talking about when they were brand new built, when them guys were out there cutting corn in the fall, we'd sit up there in the three shop drinking coffee in the morning, watching deer run from field to field, and we're just like,
Yep.
man, what would I give to, be that dude's, you know, dislocated son-in-law or something like that. 'Cause man, look at all them deer out there.
Oh
And
yeah.
just huge too. That corn-fed,
Yep.
ginormous, Kansas whitetails, beautiful.
It's a great place to go, and that's why I've always wanted to go back, just never really had the time. And now that I'm retired, I travel around. I go on trips every year. I hunt Illinois a lot because I got a buddy that's got a farm over there. I go hunt it, but I've always wanted to go back to Kansas. So we had decided this year we're going, and then I started having neck issues again, so I had to go in and have another fusion surgery done. So I told the guys, I'm like, I'm not going. If you guys want to go ahead and put in for the draw. I'll wait till next year and put in. But I'm going to go back. I mean, that
Yeah.
that base is phenomenal, and there's good quality deer on that base.
Yep. They're not afraid to swim the river either on that backside on ND.
Oh no.
We've seen them swimming in the river to come across. So
Oh
up
yeah.
the Missouri side into Kansas. So
I think the funniest story I can tell you from Leavenworth is where they built our new kennels up there on top of the hill. There's that road that comes down beside the kennels, goes down the bottom of the hill, right to the train tracks by the
yep.
airfield. We used to hunt down over that hill right there from the kennels down in that patch of woods there. And it was bow only. There's no guns there. There was two guys stopped up the kennels one day, like, hey, are we allowed to hunt down in the woods down here? I was like, yeah, you guys can go down there. You just can't be up here. You can't hunt up here in this field in this area here. You got to be down in the woods. Okay. Well, the guy had like a little. It was kind of like a little Ford Ranger, but it wasn't a Ford. I couldn't tell if it was like a Mazda. I don't know what it was. It was a little small truck. And I noticed when they pulled off, he had this huge gray tarp in the back. It was folded up, but it was still set above the bed. It was big. So they leave, they go over the hill, and they park a quarter way down the hill from the kennels. I mean, there's as you leave the kennels and take a left, go down that hill, there's a little pull off right there. They were pulled off in a little pull off right there, and I guess they walked in and went hunting. Well, the guy that came to the gate and was talking to us about hunting over there, he got cold. He went back to the truck. Well, he got back to the truck. The truck was locked, so he climbed the bed of the truck and wrapped that tarp around and was covered with it to stay warm. A deer come from the other side of the road. This big buck come out and was crossing the road, and a car came down and honked. So the guy peeked up over the back of the tailgate there and saw the buck in the road. So he just grabs his bow, knocks an arrow, lands on the bed of the truck. As the deer gets off the road and is starting to go in the woods, he comes up, shoots it right there. So his buddy, he didn't say a word to his buddy. He didn't send him a text, nothing. He gets out, gets the deer, drags it up, guts it, goes in, pulls in the bed of the truck, and covers it up with a tarp. Well, we're coming down the hill as he's pulling it in. So I'm a deer hunter. I want to stop and see it. So we're stopped. We're looking at it. We're taking pictures and stuff. And beautiful buck. We leave. We go train and stuff. And we were training over. I can't think of the name of it now. It used to be an old, old hotel over there. Everybody always said it was haunted. It was by the old prison, right there in the front part of Post.
Okay.
Well, we leave. A couple of us left and went down to the shopette to get a couple sandwiches and stuff. And the guys are there. So I was talking to him. He's like, dude, my buddy was so mad when he come back, got in the truck. Man, what are you doing back here? He's like, man, I got cold. He's like, then all of a sudden he starts looking. He goes, why is there blood on my tailgate? I don't know what you're talking about. He lifts up the tarp and there's that buck. When did you get that? He's like, man, I wasn't even in the woods. I shot it over here by the road. I was like, man. But Leavenworth's one of those places you just, prime time, you can't leave the woods. I mean, there's big bucks everywhere on that base.
Yeah. So my daughter was 3 when I was there, and she had colic. And oh my gosh, if you've ever had a kid that go through that,
Yep.
and you survive your marriage, there's a special place for you in this world. And so I go do soldier stuff during the day and come home at night, and then the wife, we'd tap out and she'd go to sleep, and we had a Dodge Caravan with little movies in it.
Yep.
And I'd drop in Teletubbies or something like that, and I would drive around from 10 o'clock at night till 1 o'clock in the morning until she'd fall asleep. And let her just do her thing. It's the only way we could get her to not cry, to get her to bed. And in doing that, it was a win for me because I knew where all the deer were at night, and then I
Yep.
could learn their patterns and kind of see them. Because I drove every square inch of that 3 or 4 times a night. It was just kind of how it was. And then come deer season, I used it to my benefit because I knew where the deer were bunched up. So
Yep.
yeah.
That's a smart way to do it. Mobile scouting. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
I mean, they're not going to they're going to travel, but they're not going to travel as far if the food source is there,
Yep.
because they're counting calories just like everybody else.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We used to go out all the time. We trained all over the post, so we go out by the river all the time before season come in, and we do training out there, so I could do a little scouting myself. So
Yeah, I'm
there
not
was,
gonna lie. I did use my leadership position on more than one occasion to scout an area uh,
yeah.
for deer. Maybe that could be a different episode for a different installation.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I used my position too to do some of that scouting, because so the housing area you lived in, there was a gravel road behind that come up and around, went up in the woods. I used to take, I'd go up there when I was training. I'd go up there, park the patrol vehicle, get out, and I'd go scout. I'd spray down with friggin' tick stuff so I wouldn't get eaten up with ticks. I'd go out and go scouting for a while.
Yep.
So I guess it's the best way to do it. I had my hours in with my dog, so it's like I'm gonna go scouting now. There's nothing else for me to do. Everybody's going
Yeah.
back to the kennels. They're going home. I'm gonna stay up here and scout.
Yep. There's absolutely zero wasted time in the wood line
Oh
when
no,
you're looking for
no,
critters.
yeah, you can't. You can't beat a good scouting trip. So yeah, I definitely want to. I want to have you back on too. I want you to talk about Knox. I want you to talk about all. I mean, all the places you've been that you hunt. I want you to talk about them, because I've hunted Knox a few times too. I'm actually getting ready to go down and hunt. I turkey hunted this year. I'm going to go down and deer hunt this year too. But I refuse to hunt Knox for gun season. I just refuse. There's
Yeah.
too many people. Too many people come on and hunt during gun season.
Yeah, it was pretty significant when I was there. I was there 2 different times for 2 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
based on Army requirements. I was there for the 2016 season and the 2018 season. Uh,
Yep.
but yeah, I can agree. It's probably one of the busiest places, but man, it's got like Kansas, some big, big deer.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but like I
Oh yeah.
told my son, actually, it wasn't my son, it was my daughter. We've been spending a little time together because it's just us, since my son went to college. But she goes, "Hey, are you gonna hunt forever?" I was like, "When I stop hunting, you need to be very concerned about my health and welfare." Um, from the time I could walk in the woods alone until right now, I have hunted. I took 8 years off. Um,
Yep.
I talked about it a little bit earlier when I first joined and I went to Germany and I was a misguided youth.
Yep.
Um, I think Phil Robinson talked about it, at Duck Commander at a point, right? So Fort Lewis, I didn't hunt. Germany didn't hunt. Obviously, that's
Yeah.
really difficult. But when I got stationed back at Fort Leonard, Missouri, 2001, planes went into the towers. Hunting got
Yep.
there was no hunting,
No.
and my neighbor was a Marine Corps um, heavy equipment operator instructor, and he came home one day with a deer in his truck, and I'm like, dude, what's that? What'd you do? How? Talk to me, man. And he's like, man, this is one of the best places to hunt. He goes, I'm from upstate New York, man. This is a gem.
Yep.
All right, talk to me. And so we sat down and talked, and within a week, I had a new bow. I started having kit, and I literally, um, hunting changed my life to the point where, I talked about being a troubled youth. Um, I literally stopped drinking
Yep.
for months on end because you can't get up hungover, or a little bit sideways and get in a tree and go do things with weapons and sharp objects. And
No.
I grew up hunting, in Northeast Oregon with my dad and my brother and my grandparents, and it just, I didn't eat beef until I started the first grade because all of our protein was wild game. Um,
Yep.
so I got reconnected with a passion, and when I met my wife and we were dating, and I'm like, hey, January to September 1st, I'll go walk to any museum, I'll go to any flower garden, I'll do anything you want to do. We'll go do things. Come the end of September till the end of December,
Deuces.
there I'm a ghost. Okay. Don't plan nothing on the weekends, don't plan nothing on the holidays. Um, So yeah, it created some stress in my life, but it's absolutely my passion. It is my reset every year.
Yep.
Uh, so much to the point, right, that we have a Facebook page here, like all the other installations do. And there's a group of dudes. They're all phenomenal. The
Yep.
guys that are the admins, um, and they help guys. I actually kind of got into it a little bit myself, and over the last 2 years, I've taken out. I do. It's time consuming. I'll sponsor one person a year,
Yep.
right? And that I'll help them get through the safety courses, help them get their tags, help them, plan a budget to buy the things they want to go hunt with. And then I take them as far out into the woods as I can and, tell them how to look for deer, find deer, look for sign,
Yep.
all the stuff my dad taught me when I was little. And then the stuff I've learned along the way. Um, a young man, Tony Hall, he's a MP. I'm not sure where he's at nowadays. 2 years ago, he was my first dude. He got a deer his first year out.
That's cool.
Right. He was a little bit more experienced. He just needed some rehoning. Uh,
Yeah.
but I have another guy that hunted a little bit when he was a kid in Florida, but then never really did it. So last year was his first year with me, and he's got a tree stand, a crossbow, and some things. And we almost got him a deer. The deer just didn't come in close enough to range. But so he's addicted, and I love it. I love teaching new people. I'm also now a certified hunter safety instructor for the state of Missouri. Uh,
That's awesome.
so um, twice a year I run courses for whoever. I'm linked in with MWR here on post, so I'll teach on base. I'm going to probably teach off base right after school starts to get all the kiddos, because there really isn't a place for the kiddos to get their cards.
Yep.
But we did a class 2 months ago. We had 25 young men and women, all in
Wow.
their teens, 11 to 15, um, and just, doing weapons manipulation with mock weapons and everything. And so it's so much fun. It's not a hobby. It's part of my stuff that pumps in and out of my heart
It's a
every day.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle. That's what it is. I mean, that for me, like you, I grew up hunting too. I hunted as a kid. That was it. And then joining the military, I didn't get to hunt as much as I wanted to. You got deployments. Me being a dog handler, I'm TDY quite a bit. So it's like I'm missing hunting seasons, but you're so busy, you don't really have time to miss it like you think you would, because it's constant on the go. But then when I got towards the end of my career and things started slowing down, I started hitting hunting again. And man, it's what really helped me with PTSD a lot. That's been the biggest thing for me. It's what keeps me grounded. Like you said, it's my go-to. So the way I got into doing this podcast was I did one for a buddy of mine. I was a guest for him, and we were talking about the buck I killed last year here at my place. So me and my wife own 30 acres here, and I shot a 134. It was just a 6 point, but it's the biggest 6 point I've ever seen in my life. He's 25 and a half inches inside spread. He looks like a
Wow.
Texas deer is what he looks like.
Yeah.
But he asked me on the podcast, he goes, what's the most important part of hunting for you? I told him, I said, I'll be honest, it's not killing an animal. It's not. It's going out in the morning, 2 hours before daylight, and you're sitting in the stand and you watch the woods come alive. That's the best part of hunting for me right there. That's it.
Did you read my notes? Yeah.
Dude, that's most hunters though. Most real hunters will say that, because there's nothing else in the world you can do to get that feeling. And especially, like I told him, I said, for me, we're the predator. Deer are the prey if you look at it in that aspect. And there's nothing like sitting in a tree stand and having a mature it can be a doe, but having a mature animal come in, they have no idea you're there. You won. Even if you don't take
Yeah.
that animal, you still won. And it's just there's nothing like it. But just that feeling in the morning, it's dark, it's quiet out. You may hear a deer walk through every once in a while or something, but when daylight starts to hit, you got the birds start chirping, squirrels start moving, all the animals come alive. It's just like there's nothing like that in the world. And that's the most peaceful time I think I've ever experienced. And that's my go-to. If I'm feeling like I'm overwhelmed and just ready to snap, I grab my stand, I hit the woods, and
Yeah,
it's all
no.
gone.
I had a battalion commander great friend of mine. We still talk quite a bit. He lives out in Philadelphia now. Um, Philip Lentz, and he asked me one time because he grew up in the city, big bass guitar dude, and a great human being. Him and his family. He goes, "What is it? What is it about?" And I said that I almost scripted word for word. I said, "Hey, sir, check it out, man. When I'm 20 feet up in the air in complete darkness and I watch the world wake up,
Yep.
there's nothing more peaceful than that right there. Everything resets, everything's new and fresh. It's great." I was like, "I've watched turkeys play, squirrels plays. I've
Yep.
watched hundreds of deer walk right under my stand, not know I'm there." Um, and like you said, all the good hunters know a thing. And the thing is when you pull that trigger, you let that arrow go, or whatever it is that starts the mechanics of the hunt. The work starts then,
Yep.
but everything up to that is a gift.
Yeah.
So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. You're enjoying God's creation is what you're enjoying. That's
Yep.
it. I mean, there's nothing like it. And I've got I've got 5 kids and I've got 4 boys. 4 out of the 5 are boys. And 2 of my younger ones. So I've got a set of twins. One of my twins and then my youngest son are kind of starting to dabble into hunting a little bit. They went last year a few times. I'm hoping they pick it up and they start going, but I won't force them to go. I don't want
Yep.
to force them and they start to hate it. So I'm hoping they really start getting into it because, like I told them, I took them last year and I told them, I said, listen, we're sitting there. It's an hour and a half before daylight. I like to get there early. That way you got time to get everything set up and then the woods have time to just calm down before daylight hits. And I told them, I said, listen, over the next 20 minutes when daylight starts to come out, you watch how the woods go. I said, it's so quiet right now. When it starts getting daylight, that quiet's gone. It gets kind of chaotic, but it's a
Mm.
good chaotic though. I said, because the woods come alive. That's just what I call it. They come alive. And they were sitting there. My oldest was sitting there and he goes, Dad, you weren't lying. I said, no, I told you. I said, it's so peaceful here. I put my phone on vibrate, put it in my pocket, phone's done, and it's just me and nature. I told him, I said, this is why I hunt so much. It's just so peaceful. You can get away from the hustle and bustle of life and just come out here and enjoy it.
Yep. Solitude is a drug for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, I love it. And I agree with you. If I ever stop hunting, you need to start worrying. It's time to
Yep.
start worrying about me because it's my go-to in life. That's just what I have and it's what I enjoy. So I'll continue to do it as long as I can walk. I'm going to do it. And I mean, if I can't walk, if I'll get a wheelchair and I'll get out there somehow.
Yep.
It's the way it is. But well, I won't keep you longer, man. I'll let you get back to the family. I know it's late, but thanks for coming on, man, and just talking. I want to have you on again sometime closer to season because I definitely want you to talk about Leonard Wood for sure. That's where you're hunting now, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, I
I
hunt
want
two
you to talk
places,
about
right?
that.
So I hunt Fort Leonard Wood,
Uh-huh.
and since being retired, connecting with buddies, um, I got a hunting lease down in southeast Missouri that I hunt with some retirees, CID agents, state troopers, kind of thing, right?
Okay.
So you can imagine the campfire talk.
Oh,
Um,
that'd be awesome.
but yeah, no, but I hunt all over the state, and would love to talk about what we do down here. I'm a part of a couple different, or at least one major group. So, but yeah, we can talk about that another time for sure.
Yeah, I definitely want to get you back on. And then I also, if you go out this year and you're successful, I'd like to get you back on too. Then to talk about just tell a story about that because
Okay.
that's the one thing. I dropped my first episode a couple days ago, and buddies of mine are calling me and stuff and talking about how they like the information that's getting put out. I want to keep doing that, but I also want to get all the guests to talk about their stories. That's why I told you, I want to talk about Leavenworth because I've got a couple of friends of mine who are wanting to go. They listen to the podcast. I would rather you tell them what's going on out there than me. And then I want to have you guys talk about your biggest deer, the biggest deer you kill on that base. Talk about it because I know most hunters do. I love hearing stories about what people have killed. It's just part of it. I wasn't there on the hunt, but I still get to share in that.
Oh
Still
yeah.
get to share in
Oh,
that.
we
It's
love
just,
telling stories. We're worse than fishermen.
oh yeah, always, always. You can take a 95-inch deer, and by the time you get back to camp, it's a 175-inch deer easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, absolutely.
yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Really, really do.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me. And I'm gonna send old Joe Barry a note later. Um, yeah. So love that dude too. Yeah. As he
Yeah,
works
me
on
and him
that
were
transition, we've worked with him a lot too. So
yeah, me and him were stationed together a couple times. Once over in Germany, and then we were both in Iraq about the same time. And then I was already gone from Leonardwood when he got there. Yeah, I was gone from Leonardwood when he got there. So, but I think we were stationed together somewhere else too, but we weren't in the same unit at the time. So, but I can't remember where we were at together. But I hit him up. I was like, "Hey man, I know you're retired now. You hunt Leonardwood, right?" He's like, "Nah, a couple times I have." I was like, "Well, I still want to have you come on and just talk about hunting out there in Missouri in general, because that's
yeah,
one thing I want to do is I want to have." So this is another part of the podcast I'll tell you about too. I want to have guys come on from different states and just talk about hunting that state, because like me growing up in the Midwest, when we moved to Montana, that was a rude awakening for me. Deer hunting out there is completely different than what it is back here.
yeah, spot and stock.
Yeah, yeah, you're not. I mean, you can in some places you can climb up a tree stand, but not normally.
Yeah.
Normally, you're out spotting and stalking and stuff like that. So I want to have guys from other states come on and talk about that too, because as vets, we're retired. We travel more now to hunt. So it's like if I've got a guy sitting here that, man, y'all really want to go hunt, Colorado, man, I can listen to this podcast. This guy talks about hunting Colorado. They can get a little bit of information. And eventually I want to get to where, when we start talking about states like that, I'll have a gear list. So at the end of the podcast, I'll put up a list of all the gear that they may be able to use in that area. Because I wasn't prepared for hunting conditions like that. It was completely different.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, I want to have you back on and talk about all that stuff out there. I mean, I know everybody's going to want to hear all the stories and get all the tips and tricks they can, because if you help one guy, it's worth it. You help that one person. That's how I feel. If I can
Yep,
put the information out, it helps one person hunt, I did my job. So
absolutely.
yeah, man, you go spend some time with the family. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate everything. And this episode will drop September 15th. Yeah, September 15th.
Okay.
This will drop. So I'll shoot you a message the day before and remind you, hey, you're going live.
Perfect. I can't wait.
All right, man. Have a good night. Take care, and thanks again.
Yeah, no problem, Justin. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you later. Bye.